Now, another thing, for example, is why didn't the other disciples write their own gospels? Right? Because clearly not everything Jesus taught was written down, and John admits that at the end of his own book, right? That's weird. That's weird, right? But the main points are made, right? I guess. But some of it still goes over your head, like the parable of the door and the shepherd. Do you even know what that means to the Old Testament? Right? You probably don't. You probably don't consider it something from the Old Testament, which got to be where John's getting it from. What do you think pastor has to do with being a shepherd? Being a shepherd, right? A pastor is someone who's supposed to shepherd a flock of sheep, right? By the way, though Jesus even quoted, "I will smite the shepherd, and the flock will scatter." Right? That's an Old Testament quote. From one of the books of the Old Testament. No. So did Matthew reference Isaiah 7:14, chapter 7, verse 14, right? As Jesus being Emmanuel, God with us, right? Or with us, God, right? Is that why John said in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God? And though that does make Jesus the firstborn of every creature, right? At the same time, is he the personal image of God? The true God, right? Image. And the rest of us are based off of his image, right? But still not in his image, right? That's possible too, right? It's Emperor Constantine who was taught first Roman society, right? And Roman beliefs, who was introduced to Christianity, right? By the way, and might not have understood the parts or references to Jesus being a hermaphrodite in the Gnostic Gospels, right? They don't have such a term like I was talking about yesterday, right? Though Merkness, right, is the equivalent to hermaphroditus, right? Merc is for Mercury, right? The messenger of the gods in Roman society. And Venus, right, or Merkness, right, would be the Greek equivalent, or the Roman equivalent of the Greek hermaphroditus, right? Basically. Though I guess you could say Mercinus, because Mercury, right? I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I know. We kind of more represent it, but that's kind of what hermaphroditus was, right? And in his story, too. Though he was named Hermaphroditus from the start, right? But a female nymph, which is also a water spirit, right? Humanized and mated with him and then became one body with him, right? Almost how Eve was made into her own body after Adam, right? By removing bone and flesh from him to make her, right? So you get the bone might have been a rib, but what was the flesh? Boobs and a vagina underneath, right? In fact, it says in the Hebrew, God closed up the flesh underneath. Well, what would that mean? The door is an opening you have to go through and come out of to, like, make a baby, right? The male goes in, but out comes a child, right? 9 months later, right? Though it might have been 7 or 8 in Eden, right? Months, right? Later. the conditions were different then, right? I know. Just to make a point, right? I know. Adam and Eve were made to reproduce, and maybe they had a girl and a baby, male baby, right? The boy first and the girl second, right? Mm-hmm. But then with Cain and Abel, there's two boys being born, right? But then after that, they go back to making the boy child and the female child. Seth found his wife. Or she was born to Adam and Eve too, though they didn't name her. Do you see the flaw there? Mm-hmm. Though Moses didn't know her name, or they didn't tell him her name. They only taught them Seth, right? Finding a wife, okay, having his own children, right? And having sons and daughters too, right? So on and so forth, right? And living close to 1,000 years himself. I don't know. But like I said, when they started dying with a few hundred years. No more than 300 years total, right? So the real lifespan is actually under 130, right? For the ones involved, right? Who started dying too, right? Mm-hmm. And anyway. Well, either listen or don't listen, right? See, that's the thing. No one can make you listen to them, right? But if you keep coming back the next day, why are you coming back the next day, right? You already know what I'm saying by now, right? And if you're still saying the same thing, I'm still disagreeing with you, right? The next day too, right? I'm still telling you no. You're wrong. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. And then you're out in Ben, like I said, right? You're making Ben look like he really had a Jones on for me and really wanted sex with me when I didn't want it with him. And is even lying to you about it now, right? You're outing him. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're making Ben the gay culprit. Worse than what I said he did, right? You're trying to say he wanted sex with me so bad he was willing to rape me, right? And I'm saying, no, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. See, I'm being honest. You're being dishonest. I'm being loyal to Ben, too, in that I'm not overexposing what he did, right? You are. You're imagining worse than what he did, right? Including to the point of rape. That also seems like you're fantasizing about raping men yourself, if a male yourself. Stop doing that too. You're going to get yourself in trouble then, right? It's still a crime to rape someone, right? Male or female.